I was knee-deep in muddy pasture when the sirens went off. 3 patrol cars came racing up my driveway, their lights flashing, tearing up the gravel like there was an emergency at hand. I wiped the sweat off my face, holding a pair of pliers in one hand and a broken fence post in the other. And there she was, Sarah, standing at the edge of my land in a bright yellow jacket, waving her arms like she was signaling for a plane to land. "She's calling the cops on me," I muttered, a bit more amused than frustrated at first. Then I saw her point straight at me. "This man is trespassing," she shouted into the phone. "He's threatening me. He's got tools." I looked down. Yes, I had tools, because I was fixing my own fence on my own property. The officers stepped out, hands near their belts, eyes bouncing between us. We received a call about a disturbance. One of them said, trying to stay professional. Before he could say anything else, I pulled my wallet from my back pocket. The air went still. Sarah gasped. "He's reaching for something," she yelled. I pulled out my sheriff's badge and showed it to them. The officers froze. Her face went pale. And just like that, I knew things were about to get interesting. 2 weeks earlier, things had been calm. Peaceful, even. I had just finished feeding the animals, the sun rising over the hills, and the steam rising off the hay bales. A perfect country morning. The only sounds were the hum of my tractor and a hawk screeching in the distance. I was fixing a fence near the north end of my property when I saw someone standing just past the property line, arms crossed. Expression set in a mix of disapproval and superiority. "Great," I muttered under my breath. "Sarah." I'd heard stories from the neighbors. She'd moved here recently from the city, bought a nice house with a porch, and apparently didn't understand the concept of boundaries. "Your horses are almost in my yard," she said, as if they were radioactive waste. I try to be polite. "That's the fence line. They're exactly where they're supposed to be," I said. She didn't smile. She just nodded, probably mentally taking notes for her next complaint. I knew this wouldn't be the last I'd hear from her. Still, I try to brush it off. First encounters can be weird, but there was something in her eyes that told me this wouldn't be a one-time thing. The next morning, I found a surprise waiting for me on my tractor. A piece of paper was duct taped to the seat like some kind of demand letter. In big red letters, it said, "Stop all activity near our shared boundary. This is your final warning." I stared at it for a second, confused. Was this a joke? But then I saw her name at the bottom, as if she were some kind of local ruler laying down the law. I ripped it off and threw in the trash. An hour later, the deputy rolled up. "Just doing a welfare check," he said, sounding exhausted. The neighbor reported possible illegal animal activity. I blinked. "You mean my horses?" He gave me a look that said, "Yeah, I know, man." Apparently, Sarah called it in, claiming I was keeping unregistered animals and hoarding chemicals. It was all nonsense, but someone had to come check it out. After he left, I couldn't help but laugh it off, telling my wife maybe Sarah thought we were running a livestock drug ring. But the jokes didn't last long. 2 days later, animal control showed up, clipboard in hand. They had received a report claiming my animals were underfed and possibly aggressive. Aggressive? My horses were the least threatening things on the property. Still, I let them inspect everything. They weighed the animals, checked their water, even sniffed the hay. Everything passed, but the damage was done. There were delays in paperwork. Sarah wasn't just annoying me. She was messing up my whole operation. And then the worst part started. Every time I went out to tend to my animals, I could feel her eyes on me. Sure enough, she'd be peering out of her upstairs window with binoculars, watching every move I made. She even started measuring the fence, making notes like she was preparing for a lawsuit. One afternoon, my son was helping me replace a board in the fence. He had a hammer in his hand, nothing more. Sarah called the sheriff, claiming he was brandishing a weapon, a hammer, on a farm. I had to explain to the deputy that we weren't reenacting a Wild West shootout. We were just fixing a fence. But Sarah didn't stop there. She started recording us, phone always out, filming everything from morning until night, waiting for us to slip up. No conversation, no warning, just a smug look like she was building a case for something that wasn't even real. I tried to keep my cool. I really did. But it was starting to get to me. I couldn't let her win. That night, I sat on my porch, long after the sun had gone down, with a cold beer in one hand and a legal pad in the other. I wasn't going to lose sleep over her. I was going to build a case. What she didn't know was that I had years of law enforcement experience. I worked cases that held up in court, and I knew exactly how to keep calm while someone tried to provoke me into making a mistake. Sarah wanted chaos? I'd give her cold, hard evidence. I started keeping a log, dates, times, photos. I put up trail cameras in the trees, hidden and motion triggered. I captured her filming, measuring, and even the moment she stepped onto my property to yell at one of my horses. She thought she was making moves, but she didn't realize I'd already set my own trap. It happened on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was going over the trail cam footage when I saw it. Sarah, clear as day, stepping through my fence, wire cutters in hand. She snipped the bottom strand of barbed wire like she was trimming a bush. Then she looked straight into the camera and said, "Now your horses won't bother me anymore." I froze, rewound the footage, and watched it again. She wasn't just trespassing. She was vandalizing my property, tampering with my livestock fence. That wasn't a small matter anymore. That was serious. And the best part? She incriminated herself with her own words. I sat back, not angry, but in awe of how perfectly everything was falling into place. Sarah had just handed me everything I needed. No more speculation, no more back and forth. I had the proof. That night, I put everything together. The footage, the notes she'd left, voice memos where she threatened to move my fence for me. By morning, I had a file so full it could have been a police report. I submitted everything through the sheriff's system, knowing full well that I wasn't just a guy with animals. I was also a sheriff's deputy, and that meant I had the power to make things very difficult for her. The next morning, I didn't wear my uniform, but I clipped my badge to my belt and parked the cruiser where she could see it. Sarah came marching across the field, phone up, ready to start another rant. I raised a hand. "Ma'am, you're trespassing, and we've received a formal complaint against you." She froze. Her mouth opened and closed like she was trying to process what was happening. That's when I subtly turned, enough for the badge to catch the sunlight. Her face drained of color. She realized what had just happened. She tried to deny it, but the evidence was already there. When I showed her the footage of her cutting my fence, her face turned crimson. She tried to grab my phone, but a deputy stepped in, warning her that if she touched me again, she'd be arrested. After I sent the footage to the county records, I posted a short clip on my private social media. It went viral. By the end of the day, the video had over 80,000 views. Sarah was now the star of a very different kind of show. The next morning, I couldn't keep up with the notifications. The video was everywhere, and her reputation was in tatters. The local news picked it up, and Sarah tried to deny it, but the internet doesn't forget. Her life turned into a public relations nightmare. The HOA even called an emergency meeting, and though I wasn't invited, the entire neighborhood knew about it. She had tormented so many people, and now the entire street was eager to see her get what was coming to her. The HOA issued her a formal citation, and when Sarah tried to defend herself, someone played the footage of her cutting my fence on a projector in front of the whole community. That was it. Sarah's time in the spotlight was over. From that point on, she disappeared. No more binoculars. No more measuring tape. No more phone calls to the cops. I went about my life in peace, running my farm and raising my family. I didn't need to raise my voice to win, just my actions and the facts. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. As for Sarah, well, let's just say the neighborhood wasn't exactly sorry to see her go. In the end, it wasn't about confrontation or revenge. It was about standing my ground and letting the truth speak for itself. Sarah's need for control had backfired, and the internet's brutal honesty had stripped her of everything she once held dear. While she tried to turn the tables, I simply let the facts do the talking. Now I can finally focus on what truly matters: my land, my family, and my peace of mind. Sometimes, the best way to handle a bully isn't by shouting back, but by calmly letting them self-destruct. And that, in the end, was my victory.